Well, hello, fabulous primary PE teachers. This is my Unit 2 preview, so I'm hoping that it's a little more interactive than last time. I decided to go ahead and tie my content to third grade for this time around for Unit 2. Their transdisciplinary theme is how we organize ourselves. And I don't want to read my PowerPoint to y'all, insult your intelligence, but this is mainly focusing on the societal decision making, which I think, especially this time of year, even with third grade, it's a good idea talking about that decision making in PE and how that works in everything we do. So, without further ado, let's see if this works. Yay! The central idea is government structures are responsible for organizing communities and people. You're thinking, government, what? We teach PE. Let me help you make the connection. The rules in PE are designed to keep us safe while we learn new skills and exercises. That is my PE specific central idea. This is basically how we're going to tie in our content. So the box 1B talks about our summative assessment. What I decided to do with this is have a situational skills test. Basically what it is scholars will get together in partners and will assess each other using a rubric. They're going to assess whether or not scholars know which skills to use in specific situations. This could be locomotor skills. This could be chasing, fleeing, dodging. However it works out best. I'm following the scope and sequence, but I understand that you may not be able to, depending on your space and equipment needs or constraints, if you will. Another summative assessment I'm going to use with the third graders on this particular unit are journal entries, and they're going to journal on their experiences with the games we've played during the unit, and they're going to be assessed for their understanding of the rules and the games through the journal entries. And I know you're thinking, man, seriously, that's 100 journals. Honestly, guys, it's a matter of just walking around, watching them as they're writing, looking at these journals, and making sure that as they're writing, they're having an understanding. Because if they're thinking that it's okay to push people down in the middle of a tag game, okay, we probably need to work on that. I know that's an extreme example, but that's just kind of a thought. Of course, we're PE teachers. Skills test, and I have a rubric for the skills test. I actually have copy and pasted some of the rubrics in further slides. I know, so exciting, but I thought it might be nice to see. Also, I have a journal rubric for this. So with that being said, here's the journal rubric. There are different components to it. There's FitnessGram, of course. We probably should tie, the FitnessGram in there to, goal setting, all of that. However, in this particular instance, we're looking more for just the physical activities, and do they understand those particular activities and why we do them. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, and I do have all my journal rubrics posted on Blackboard. So here is the skills test rubric, and this is a little less wordy, if you will. And as you can see, it's just a matter of, did they choose the right skill? Or, how many times did they choose the right skill? Did they choose the right pathway? Did they run a zigzag pathway and they should have been just running a straight line? Just very simple things, but still very pertinent in third grade. So, looking at our key concepts, connection, well, chasing, fleeing, and dodging are used in several games that are played throughout the year. Okay, and that's, again, I'm following the scope and sequence, and we're working on chasing, fleeing, and dodging for third grade. That's not just, those aren't skills that are used just for this particular unit, and we're going to stop after unit 2. Those are skills we're going to use throughout the year, whether we start playing some tag games, or just about every game we've ever shared at collab day has some sort of chasing, fleeing, or dodging. One comes to mind, the condor ball, that where they have to kind of dodge. It's like a version of dodgeball. Anytime you play one of those games, for whatever reason, these skills come up. So there's your connection piece that, we're not just doing this for now. It happens all the time, and you use these skills other times. Of course, proper throwing form is necessary to hit a target in many games. You don't just throw to have a skills test, or you don't just throw in baseball. And of course, having these discussions with scholars during carpet time, or at the end of class, to kind of have that reflection time with them. The key concept of function, that these skills actually are necessary for many games and sports. It's not something that's taught in isolation. And maybe by third grade, a lot of our scholars already have been participating in different organized sports teams, football, basketball, softball, all that. So they hopefully can be able to connect this function to not just what they're doing in PE. Related concepts, progress. We're going to practice these skills so we can increase the mastery of them and hopefully improve in all those areas we talked about, sports, activities, what have you. Origins, these skills are the basis for a lot of the games, and hopefully they will be able to see that come full circle, towards the end of the year, when they're like, oh, gee, yeah, we did this early on. We did this in October. Wow, okay, cool. The lines of inquiry, these basically how decision-making practices reflect human rights. Okay, you're like, what? Human rights? Well, here's how we break it down for PE. Choosing the correct skill for the appropriate game or sport in PE class and outside it or at home activities is a right and responsibility for all scholars. This is how we tie our content into the planner. So basically we're talking about that the fact that we can choose the skill is a right and responsibility, meaning that, if we're supposed to be running in a curved pathway so we don't run into people or equipment, that's our responsibility, that's our right, we need to take care of that. Rights and responsibilities of citizenship. Why is it our responsibility to follow the rules and for any game and or activity? Yeah, and we talk about that. We are citizens of our PE class, and if you don't follow the rules for a game, we're not safe and it's not fair. We go through all of that. So driving the inquiry. How can we use what we learned last year, tie it into previous year's activities, to gain mastery in the skills of chasing, fleeing, dodging, and throwing. Sorry, it's the end of the day. Why is it important to follow the rules for any game or activity? And just that one question to kind of provoke that thought, it's going to really get them thinking. And they, being third graders, they're going to popcorn out those answers super fast. I've even had it where scholars will, what if, we do this, this, and this, and they will definitely drive their inquiry. And, sometimes you might even have to cut off the what ifs. But, they will, if you present it, they're going to take it and run with it. So the provocation. I know a lot of people like to do videos and set up different scenes. Personally, because I see my scholars once a week, I like to just keep it simple. So I do a brief carpet, I say carpet time in quotation marks because I don't have carpet in the gym or cafeteria. We just sit on the floor together and I kind of get the discussion started. They generally run with it. And we talk about the importance of the rules of all the games and activities we play and do. And why we need to have the rules. What's the point in that? We also talk about what would happen if athletes did not follow the rules during sporting events. That's where a lot of the what ifs start going on. Sometimes you might have to shut that down, but lots of times really good inquiry comes out of that. The other one is, what would happen if we did not follow the rules for any of the games we play in PE? And again, sometimes you might have to shut that down because we could what if for days. But again, really great inquiry will come out of it. How might we know what we have learned? This is the column that should be used in conjunction with how best might we learn. So we're looking at what are the possible ways of assessing students' prior knowledge and skills. What evidence are we looking for? Well, as we're doing all of this and having the games and all the fun things that we plan, we should be observing them participating, the dodgeball games, the tag games, the relay races, throwing stations, anything that you're having them do to practice these skills, observing them, looking to see how are they doing. Are they following the rules? How many times are you having to stop to maybe talk about the rules? And just really monitoring. You could even use the skills test rubric before you test them, just to kind of help you remember, okay, yeah, you know what, this class as a whole, or maybe just certain individual scholars are just not getting it. So that way you can kind of hone in on that before the summative assessment. What are possible ways of assessing student learning in the context of the lines of inquiry? What evidence will we look for? I know. It's a mouthful. Basically, we're looking at, scholars, are they participating? They're participating in the various tag games, relay races. They participate in all of these things. And we're watching this. These are these formative assessment. We're looking for not only participation, but we're observing how they do it. And this is, again, where we're looking to see how's it going. Are we getting it, essentially? And I put there at the bottom, all activities should place emphasis on the relationship between the class rules and the activities themselves. We follow the rules because we got to do this. And all activities are placing emphasis on the organization and the necessity of that organization. We have to do it this way because of this. And even if you have to bring it back a couple times in one class period, do it. So they have that understanding. That will help, one, drive the inquiry, two, get that understanding that these rules are important. We're not just talking about this for fun. We can't have the games, the fun, the activities, and we can't get those skills down to mastery if we're not following those rules. What are the learning experiences suggested by the teacher and or students to encourage the students to engage with the inquiries and address the driving questions? Okay, again, I know, huge, lots of words. Basically, these are just, what are we doing? What are the activities we've got in the plans? Okay, for me, tag games, a version of dodgeball, relay games, partner toss, throwing stations. That's what I'm doing for this particular unit. And again, it's all about the activities should place emphasis on the relationship between the class rules and the activities themselves. Okay, and again, I don't want to insult your intelligence. I know I did some repeating here, but I just make sure we're putting the emphasis on the relationship between the rules and the skills and the activities. Transdisciplinary skills. Okay. Big fancy words for basically this is what we're looking for to see that they can do this. Self-management. They've got to be able to manage themselves as we're doing these activities. Of course, communication within the games. And then, they have to be social. This is not something they're doing alone. Tag games, none of that. None of that is stuff they're doing alone, even going through stations in small groups. How I kind of worded this for our content is scholars must be able to manage their bodies while participating in activities and games in PE. They must also be able to communicate with each other to help hold each other accountable for the rules. So the learner profile attributes are principled and risk taker. Scholars will be principled by following the rules for all activities. They will also be risk takers by attempting to perform the new skills. So pretty simple, just again, but going over those with them, making sure that you're very intentional with that. The attitudes, I chose enthusiasm, cooperation, and commitment. So scholars must exhibit enthusiasm during all activities. And I know you're like, really? But the idea is to get them excited. They should want to be there doing this, enjoying it, and doing it correctly. There should also be a great deal of cooperation going on among classmates, so they need to be working together, not arguing. All scholars should be committed to safety and following the rules during all activities. And I know I said this before, but I'll say it again. Don't be afraid to stop. If they're arguing, they're not cooperating, stop it, bring it back to the carpet, on the floor, discuss it. Same thing if they're not following the rules and they're not being safe. Shut it down, talk about it. Equipment needed, well, and this is going to depend on how you're doing it. For me, in my plan, my unit, wiffle balls, foam balls, bean bags, cones for boundaries, because, we got to have those boundaries, the gator skin balls, soccer balls, and even if you've got those playground balls, they're wonderful. Well, and this is something I know I didn't talk a lot about last year, but these reflections at the end of these units, you've got to be sure to fill the reflection portion out. Be sure that it's done after the unit's been taught. Don't try to, do that ahead of time. It's awesome to be ahead of things, but you really, you want to be honest with yourself about these and really think about, how did this go? Did this go well? Should I tweak this? Be honest with yourself. Well, guys, I know that was kind of a whirlwind, and I probably was talking way too fast. But as always, if there's questions, concerns, anything, please feel free to reach out to me, email, text, phone call, whatever you need. I'm here to support and help. I hope this was helpful, and again, let me know if you need anything. Thanks.